Hello, welcome to the Crates Motel. My name's Conan. Quick video today. I'm just going to go through how you can change the pad sensitivity on your MPC. I've had a couple of people ask. I mentioned it in my last Beats from the Big Chair. I was having a bit of a problem with double triggering, and it seems to be quite a common problem, especially with the Live 2. I don't actually get it with my MPC 1, and I have that set up completely default. But with the Live 2, I've had to adjust the sensitivity slightly. So let's jump in. Okay, so I have a couple of sounds in my MPC. If you go into menu and then into preferences, and then you'll normally be on the info page. If you then go to hardware, so here you can see you can adjust the pad brightness, the pad threshold, sensitivity, curve. These are guides, which I'll show you in a second, and then you have a few more options here. One thing I will just quickly touch on, if you are annoyed by the tempo light flashing, you can turn it on and off here. That was another thing that I've noticed quite a few people ask about. So that's where you can turn it off. I always have it turned off, drives me absolutely mental. So let's go back up to the top. Now, first off, a lot of us have full level 1 by default. If you're doing, you want a bit more dynamics in your drums and stuff, or you're doing finger drumming quite often, people will have that turned off. Now, what I want to just say is the settings that I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you how you can change things, but my settings are what suit me personally. They're not going to suit everybody else. And also take into consideration as well the style of playing you might be doing. If you're jamming, or if you're finger drumming, or if you're actually writing, or if you want dynamics in your drums, or you don't want any dynamics in your drums. For instance, you're just playing with loops and you want them to be the same level. Obviously, you'd switch to full level in that case. But what I'm saying is it does change. It's not always the same. So if you know exactly where this option is, it's easy for you to jump in and change it. So obviously at the top, pad brightness, don't need to touch on that today, but that's fairly obvious, speaks for itself. Not sure whether the brightness has an effect on the battery. Just a quick note. I always have it all the way up. Does it affect battery? I have absolutely no idea. And I'm not going to sit here for hours on end to find out whether it does or not. So let's go into the most important part. Here we have pad threshold and pad sensitivity. Now, I honestly can't remember what the default value is, but I'm assuming it's probably normal. And what you can do is you can change the pad threshold all the way down to less force, and you can go all the way up to more force. So let's keep it on 8 just for the moment. Make sure the full level is off, and I'll tell you why in a second. Pad sensitivity is the same. It goes all the way up to 16 and all the way down to 1. Pad curve is a bit difficult to explain, but basically A is linear and B through D are exponential, and the curve changes in how much of a curve there is, I guess. B is less of a curve, D is more of a curve, but it's exponential basically. With the curve, I find that it tends to be, again, totally personal preference. So once you've got threshold and sensitivity dialed in, then you can start playing around with the curve. Like I said, there's no right setting. It's what's going to be right for you. What I really just want to show is where the options are, so you can quickly go to it and change it if you need to change it for your particular situation that you might be in. So with normal, this is where I was getting double triggers. Of course, now I'm not going to be able to replicate that, which is typical. But just trust me when I tell you that I do get double triggers sometimes on this particular Live 2 in normal. So the reason why I say this particular Live 2 is because somebody else's Live 2, you might not get double triggers. They're all going to be very, very slightly different, despite the fact they're made by robots in a factory. So there will be some slight differences. So again, you can't copy my settings, but I do get double triggers on normal on this particular Live 2, although I can't replicate it now. If you look underneath here, it gives you an indication. So you've got an indication of how much you have to hit the pads to get your full 127, 0 to 127. And the aftertouch you'll get by touching the pad. That gives you an indication on that. So I was getting double triggering. So what I want to do really is to have the pads less sensitive, which I believe is in this direction. Yep, least sensitive. I found for me, I was getting less double triggering, in fact, no double triggering, if I was pushing it further up to the top on the threshold. So more force it would take. I was finding around about 13, 14 was good for me. And pad sensitivity set to about 6. With the curve, I find that the linear A is the one that I use the most. I don't really tend to change that very much, I'll be honest. But like I said, this is where you can change the options. This is where you can change the sensitivity and the threshold and the curve. But don't copy my settings because they're going to be different for you. If I'm just jamming and I'm doing some finger drumming, that kind of thing, I will actually change it. It entirely depends. I find that I want more force and more sensitivity. But it changes, you know, I mean, this is 13.6, 14.6 is what I like if I'm writing and I want dynamic drums. To be honest with you, I do actually write a lot on full level, but that's where you would change it if you do want to actually change the sensitivity. And that is also where you can solve the double triggering problem. So there you have it, really, really quick video just showing how you can change the threshold sensitivity. If you're having issues with double triggers, you can adjust the curve and you can get used to setting it up for your own particular situation. Like I said, you might have it slightly different from finger drumming, or if you're just playing with loops, or if you are writing and you want lots of dynamics, it's going to change. So probably the best thing to do is work out what's good for you in these particular situations, make a note of it, mental note, or write it down if you're like me and you've got a bad memory. So there you go. It's pretty simple really, but I was surprised how many people didn't actually really know about that and how deeply buried it was in any kind of manuals online. So I hope that helps. So thanks for watching. This is a Craig's Motel. My name's Conan. Till next time.